Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Jessica. If you are, thank you so much for clicking on this video today. I am sitting down on a very busy Friday afternoon to film a very exciting update for my Pan Those Palette series. So I'm working on 2 different eyeshadow palettes this year and I have different goals on each of them, and I'm going to update you on how many times I've used all the shades. I'm going to show you progress videos, and I'm going to have a very satisfying montage for you to watch in between each palette. So stay tuned if you're interested. And if you haven't already, please take a moment to give this video a quick thumbs up. And if you're new to this channel, go ahead and consider subscribing if you are into panning content that we are all so addicted to. You know how it is. Enjoy the video. So the 2 palettes I am working on are the Tarteist Pro To Go palette and then the Lorac Mega Pro 2 palette. So both of these palettes I would like to have out of my collection by the end of the year. My goal for this one, since it's such a little mini fun-sized palette with only 6 shades, I want to use this one up completely. And this big old beauty here, it's an oldie but a goodie. I'm trying to hit pan on all 32 shades in this palette. So we're going to start with this eyeshadow palette first, the Tarteist Pro To Go. This is what my Tarteist Pro To Go palette was looking like when I first brought it into this project in January. Back then it was weighing 26.64 grams. Here's what this palette was looking like last month with those 2 empty pans. It was weighing 57.05 grams. And here's what the palette is looking like today. So you'll notice one major change in here. There is Crisp that is gone from this palette entirely, but it is not gone from this world. So I'm gonna update you on that as I get to that shade, but there is quite a bit of difference. I'm gonna go through each of them shade by shade, let you know how many times I use them. So we'll start with that corner shade Drive. Not much to tell you there. This one was already empty in my last update. Okay, so future Jessica here. I'm editing this video and I realized that I made a very huge mistake. I completely forgot that I finished up Drive this month. I had that repressed product in the little palette there last month after 170 uses, and I used it 10 times in the month of September, but I just forgot to mention that. It was a complete oversight. I think it just finished it so early in the month that I forgot to mention it. It just had been empty for a long time in my memory, and I completely forgot to update you on that. So you will see a good progression video of last month to this month, and it is now empty after 180 uses. So correction there. Back to the video. Moving on to styling, I'm hoping that we'll see some very satisfying change in styling there. I've been using this shade every single day as my eyebrow powder, and I've also been making an effort to use it on my eyes as frequently as possible, and I've also been using it on my face mixed in with Crisp as a bronzing type shade. So here's what styling was looking like last month. This was after 211 uses in this project. I actually was able to reach for it 46 times during the past month in all 3 of those ways, making for 257 uses total. And here's what styling is looking like today. And I'm hoping it'll be dramatically bigger. Again, it's hard for me to know until I see the footage side by side, but I'm really hoping I'll see a big jump in this shade. And I'm hopeful that I'm gonna be able to finish this one up. That is ultimately my goal. Some of these I might not get to, but I'm going to try my darndest. And this one I think is one that I really could make happen if I really push for it. So I'm going to try and keep my frequency up, and maybe that'll get me empty or close to empty by the end of the year. I also scraped out a little bit of this shade into a bronzer that I frankened and made myself, and I'm going to update you more about that when I get to Crisp. But let's move on to Boss right here. It's a very pretty shimmery coppery brown, really neutral, really nice to wear on in the daily. I actually do have this on the middle part of my lid today. I did like a gray blue shadow on the outer corners and then blended it in with the brown, and then used more of like a taupey shade on the main part of the lid. And I kind of like the blend I got on there. It was just me being creative and trying to use all of my shadows and meet my goals. So here's what Boss was looking like last month. This was after 55 uses in this project. My goal was to reach for it 7 times. I actually reached for it 13 times, making for 68 uses total. And here's what it's looking like today. And it's getting to be pretty down low in that pan. Not only is the pan getting bigger, but it's also getting nice and low. So I'm hoping that this is another one I'll be able to finish. I'm gonna have to really power through and remember to use it like 13 times each month. If I can keep that pace up, I might be able to get there. I'm gonna go for it. We'll see what happens. As I'm kind of dwindling through the end of the year, you know, pan those eyeshadows will kind of be taking a little bit of a break, and I'm reaching more of my painting goals, and I'll just have more energy to devote to this. Like all of the other energy that I've been devoting during other projects of the year, it'll all compound onto this palette, and who knows, I'm really hoping for a grand finale. Let's go down to Hype. This is another empty that I had. This was the first shade that I finished. I finished that after 161 uses. I used it on my eye as well as on my face as a highlight. And that brings us to Crisp. So this is the big change that we need to talk about. Here's what Crisp was looking like last month. This was after 130 uses in this project. Last month I reached for it 29 times, and that is in multiple different ways, making for 159 uses total. And again, here's what Crisp is looking like today. It's completely empty in the pan. There's a big difference in the amount of product that's in there, but the product is not gone yet. It's just been moved to another place, not by choice. It was a necessity. So this shade was getting very close to the edges and very thin around the edges, and eventually just completely broke and crumbled apart. And in order to salvage the bit of product that I could, I decided to make it into a little bronzer. So, oh gosh, oh no, accidentally put it upside down. I've been really trying to keep it on here. So it's in this compact, but it's loose right now. I didn't have a better container to put it in. Oh no. And let me just try and get most of it back in. Yeah, so there's not a lot of product here. So I put the broken eyeshadow into this Makeup Forever compact with a little bit of Stylin mixed in. I just kind of scraped a little bit around the middle and around the top, just kind of wear it down vertically a little bit, mostly around the top. And then mix that together with some translucent setting powder, and I got a bronzer. I'm gonna try and get it here for you. Okay, this is really messy, but it's working for me. Okay, this is how I'm finishing this product. So here is what the bronzer is looking like, and you can see there's not a lot of bronzer there. I've already used quite a bit of it. So a loose bronzer is different for me. I have to be very careful with it, but yeah. So that is the eyeshadow I'm trying to finish up in the avenue of a bronzer, and no doubt this will be empty by the next update. I will share this empty compact with you, of course. I don't want you to miss out on that. And this is just, you know, my stubborn way of making sure I do this project justice. Okay, you're welcome. I do it for you. So that brings us to our final shade in this palette, Dominate, this kind of maroony, shimmery shade. And I've kind of come to terms and at peace with the fact that I might not finish this eyeshadow, and I'm okay with that. But let's not speak too soon. I still have a solid 2.5 months, more than 2.5 months to work on this shade. And again, I can kind of compound my use onto this one as I meet other goals. So here's what Dominate was looking like last time. This was after 43 uses in this project. My goal is to reach for it 6 times. I only reached for it 5 times, but that's still pretty good. So I've now used it 48 times, and here's what it's looking like today. And I'm hoping that the pan will be a little bit bigger for you, but I've also been wearing down the sides. When I use it, I really rub my finger around in a circle to try and wear down the edges more and more. I'm hoping that I'll have a really big pan on this at least by the end of this project. This is going to be a really pretty shade for fall. I really should wear it more. And I have other cool tone shades that I'm working with, like pinky tones. So this will pair really nicely with that. And I love wearing pinks in the winter. It's like one of my favorite like daily eyeshadow looks. So that one still has some hope for it yet. So that is all for this palette. I am so happy with the progress that I've been able to see during this year. And I also have some nice weight progress to share with you. Of course, some of that weight is accounted for in my bronzer here, but still, it's something to be excited about. So this palette in January was weighing 26.64 grams. Last month, it was weighing 27.05 grams. And today it weighs 50. Am I speaking English? Like, oh my gosh. I can't read numbers. I'm gonna try this again. I may have done it right and I just didn't even listen to myself because that's my ADD brain. I like won't listen to myself as I'm talking, and then I forgot what I say and I think I didn't say the right thing, but then when I go back most of the time I did say the right thing. Unless I didn't, which that also happens too. Anyone else have ADD out there? It's a problem. So in January, this was weighing, that can't be right. Jessica, no wonder. We're gonna get this. 62.64. See? I inverted the numbers. We'll get this. 62.64. Okay, try this again. In January, this was weighing 62.64 grams. Last month, it was weighing 57.05 grams, and this month is weighing 56.24 grams. So I've used 0.81 grams of product, or I've mostly used 0.81 grams of product. So that is exciting. We are gonna keep going on this one. I'm feeling very energized and motivated on this panning goal right now. So hopefully I have more exciting stuff for you next update. Of course I will. I'll have something for you. When it comes to goals for this palette, I would like to use Boss at least 10 times. If I can use it more, that would be great. I would also like to use Dominate 10 times. Do you think I can do that? I'm gonna try for it. And of course, I wanna finish that bronzer. I think that will be pretty easy for me to do. And I'm going to really reach for the stars. I'm gonna try and use Stylin' 50 times. And that will include in my eye look as well as on my eyebrows. Probably not as a contour shade unless I finish up that bronzer and like mix this with other things. I'm focusing on a different bronzer right now, so I don't know if I'll do that to myself, but I think I can get to 50 uses if I really push for it and remember to reach for it on my eye on a more regular basis. So those are my goals. And now you get to enjoy the beautiful montage that is the month-by-month video progress of this palette. Enjoy. And our next palette, the Lorac Mega Pro 2. So this one I have had in my collection, I think since like 2016, maybe 15, I wanna say. It's been a long, long time. It's like right when I really first started getting into eyeshadow. This was like my first big high-end professional palette that I purchased. And I've loved it for a long time. And I'm really glad that it's been getting the love that it deserves before I kick it to the curb, because you know it comes to a point. I mean, look at this packaging, and I have so much other eyeshadow I need to use, so it's had its heyday, especially after this year. So here's what this palette was looking like at the beginning of the year in January. It was weighing 264.7 grams, and here's what the palette was looking like last month. Last month I still had 5 more pans that I needed to hit. I was working on lavender and ash, those mattes in the second row. And then I was also working on those 3 shimmers in the third row, cinnamon, sandstone, and gunmetal. And here's what this palette is looking like today. And I am happy to say that of those 5 shades, I have now hit pan on 3 of them. That is so exciting. I don't think I've ever hit 3 pans in a single month. So that leaves me with just 2 more shadows to hit pan on remaining. I am now working on ash and gunmetal. Those are the last Lonely Strangers, and it kind of makes sense. They're not like my go-to shades I typically reach for. I'm not really much of a gray girl, although I should be, because I really like it. Like every time I wear it, I really like how the look comes out. It pairs well with a lot of different kind of vibes. You can really get creative with it. So it's been a fun challenge for me, and I'm excited to reach for those in the next couple months. But let's talk a little bit more about those pans I hit. So the first pan was lavender, which was such a satisfying shade to hit pan on. This one was so slow going. It was a focus shade for several months, and it just wore away so slowly. It was very hard pressed and not pigmented at all. I basically used it as an all over the lid setting shade. That was the easiest way for me to use it. I mixed it in a lot with custard or with bisque, like any cream shade, just to use those ones more and kind of tone down the very light purple tint that it would give. Not that it was that big of a deal. And I also have a pretty nice size pan on it. It's one of the bigger pans in this palette, and that just makes me feel good that I didn't give up on it. And now I get to share it with all of you. So that's the first one. I didn't count uses on it, but I didn't count total uses. It was one of my focus shades from the past month. So here's what it was looking like last month. I reached for it 11 times and then finally hit the pan. And here's what it's looking like this month up close. So yeah, super, super happy about that. And I've also been expanding these cream shades quite a bit, just reaching for those naturally, mixing them with other things. And I've been mixing these two shades together for like a very light transition. It's been working nice for the daily, and I'm just trying to like get more love on this palette naturally. I'm not like really pressuring myself about it, but I'm having fun just like getting the last hurrah with this one and giving it a proper send off. These were the trio I was working on the past month. I had different goals for them. My goal was to reach for cinnamon 5 times, sandstone 3 times, and gunmetal 3 times. And I blew those goals out of the water. I actually reached for cinnamon 9 times. Here's what cinnamon was looking like last month. And it had a pretty good dip on it, and that's why I was just so motivated to power through. Here's what it's looking like this month, and you'll see the pan is not huge, but it was really easy to hit pan on. This was a no-brainer shade to reach for on a daily basis, and it worked really well with other shimmers. I would put this on as my satin, like all over color, and then like top it with a more sparkly shade if I wanted to zhuzh it up a little more, and it worked just great for that. These are very much a satin shade. They're not like super metallic. And that's okay. I don't need a super glitzy glam look every single day, especially not at my teaching job. So it was really easy to work with, and same with sandstone. This one also is a very like satiny taupe shade, like not a shade I typically reach for, but a really pretty shade once I had it on the eye. And I reached for that 4 times in the past month, and that got me to pan. On the last time I used it, I wasn't gonna wear it in my makeup look, but I was looking at it and I knew that my update was coming in a couple days, and I said, that pan is so deep. Just go for it, Jess. Just use it one more time, and like the first dip, I hit pan on it. So I'm really glad I reached for it that last time, and I'm happy that I have another pan. So again, 1, 2, 3 new pans on this palette, and just 2 more remaining. So ash is right here. I actually did reach for ash quite a few times as well. This is such an easy liner shade, as well as deepening up the outer corner. And I plan to use this shade in my Halloween makeup look coming up, so it's gonna get a lot of love then. I had the goal to reach for ash 9 times. I only reached for it 3 times, but still I'm using like a pretty small brush on it. So even those 3 uses got me some progress. I'm hoping you'll see between the last month and this month. And that last shade, Gunmetal, the last one in that trio. I wanted to reach for that 3 times in the past month. I reached for it exactly 3 times. One of the uses being today, I just kind of tapped this on the outer part of my eyeshadow look is like the first lid color, kind of like a transition from the outer corner to the lid. And it didn't add like too much blue, like just enough to make this look like a little deeper, a little different. And it's not like my favorite way to wear this eyeshadow. It's not my favorite look I've ever made, but I like it. And you know, I got use on my shade. So I think if I can just kind of continue reaching for that a couple times each month, I should be able to hit pan on it by December or the end of December, no problem. It's definitely my least used shade in this palette. Between the 2, it's the least used. But the shimmers in here are not an issue. I've been able to hit pan on most of them within like 15 uses, like maybe 20 uses. And if I reach for this one a few more times each month, I think we'll definitely get that pan. So that is all for this palette. Let's talk weights on this one. I already mentioned, but I'm just gonna say again so you can like have the numbers fresh in your brain. This palette was weighing 264.7 grams in January. Last month it was 262.53. And then this month it's 262.15. So I used 0.38 grams of product during the past month. And my goals for this one are to reach for gunmetal at least 5 times. I think that'll increase the dip for me quite a bit. And I'm gonna really go for the gold on ash. I'm gonna try and reach for it 10 times. And I think if I just use that again as a liner on a regular basis, that won't be a problem to hit that goal at all. And maybe that'll get me to pan. Who knows? But I'm very confident I will be meeting my goal of hitting pan in every single one of these shades. And you know, now that I'm thinking about getting rid of it, I'm kind of sad. Like I've grown really attached to it during the past year. But we still have time together. You know, I don't want to get sad early, and I can still change my mind. Who knows? If I keep this in my collection, it still counts toward my pan percentage, you know? So there's that to consider as well. And here's the montage of the progress on this palette from this year. Enjoy. that brings us to the end of our update today. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up before you leave. I thank you so much for being here. And if you're here all the way to the end, leave me a little sweating emoji because it is 95 degrees here in October in the Bay Area of California. And that is just obscene, in my opinion. I'm sick of it. I'm done and I'm dying under these lights. So I gotta go. Send me some virtual sweating empathy. And I appreciate you so much for being here. I hope you're doing really well wherever you are in the world. And I can't wait to see you in my next video. Until then, bye.